and welcome to the i24 News Sports Daily Magazine with all the scores and stories from the world of sports. We have a lot of action coming up. Borussia Dortmund lost again and they're now deep in relegation zone. The conflict in eastern Ukraine is already taking its toll on the 2018 World Cup in Russia, and we will take a close look at the international wave hitting the NBA, where for the first time there are more than 100 foreign players. All that and much more coming up. Let's get started. We begin with European football, and ahead of the season we thought Borussia Dortmund may be the only team who can stand between Bayern Munich and a third successive title. But the match between the two last night was not what we expected. It featured a team just cruising to the championship against another who is now deep in trouble. Mathieu Taubman and Michael Friedman with a story.
The German Classic kicked off yesterday and featured 9 of the World Cup winners at the Allianz Arena. A meeting between Bayern Munich and Borussia Dortmund showed stars in the stands and on the pitch. The Bavarian champions and brilliant leader of the Bundesliga provided the first opportunity with an acrobatic shot by Müller, but would fall to the gloves of the goalkeeper. Overextended Bayern discovered a surprise lead against them, with Aubameyang's speed and pass to Reyes, who discovered a header out of the reach of Manuel Neuer. The center was fully exposed, and the apathetic defense allowed the Borussia attacker to leave his mark. And Pep Guardiola did not look happy.
In the last years, Bayern Munich couldn't beat this outstanding team. In the first half, we had chances, but we have seen very well how Mkhitaryan, Bender and Roos play.
But Munich is not the type to be impressed. Ribéry came on as a sub and gave a huge boost to his side. Lewandowski put his side level and dedicated the splendid goal to someone special.
It's a special day for me today. The goal was dedicated to my dad. I know that he is looking at me from above. I did not want to cheer. Always when you score, you were happy at first. After that, I stayed calm because it was a 1-1 goal. I thought, okay, we want to win today.
Ribéry gave the team the release they needed with a breakthrough to goal and was taken down inside the box. The referee did not hesitate and gave the penalty. Arjen Robben did not tremble and gave Bayern the lead.
And I think before the second goal, we couldn't clear the position for 2 times. And at the end, there was the penalty. The ball is in, game over. I would say we would have deserved something for the first half, but not for the second. And at the moment, we are not that lucky. We would miss the Bayern goal every time, and then you lose 2-1. I forgot. Congratulations for the deserved victory.
Bayern won for the 8th time this season and stays on top of the Bundesliga.
Now to the Premier League, where it seems the championship will also be decided quite early as leaders Chelsea win again. The Blues had some trouble against Queen's Park Rangers, but an Eden Hazard penalty 15 minutes from time secured the 3 points. It's the 8th win in 10 matches for Jose Mourinho's team. Alexis Sanchez was on target twice for Arsenal as the Gunners beat Burnley 3-0 at home. And believe it or not, the biggest threat for Chelsea at the moment comes from Southampton, who won again, this time 1-0 in Hull. But despite being just 4 points behind the leaders, manager Ronald Koeman is realistic about any championship thoughts.
Maybe. Always positive, but now that's not will happen. But continue winning, continue up in the table. Why not? Because we have a good team organization. I think we showed that again today.
Now to Spain, where there was one very surprising result. Just a week after losing in the Clásico, Barcelona is defeated again, this time at home. No sentiments at Celta Vigo for the former manager Luis Enrique, who will now have to lift his team from their second successive loss. Real Madrid keep up with their regular pace. This time they scored 4 in Granada, and Atletico Madrid is still hanging up there. The champions beat Cordoba 4-2. Seville missed on their chance to climb to first when they lost 1-0 in Bilbao. Crossing the border to France, where it's starting to look like a 3-team race, champions Paris Saint-Germain were down in halftime, but bounced back in the second half thanks to Edison Cavani, came back from suspension, and Jean-Christophe Bebek Lyon won for the fourth consecutive match. This time it was 3-1 in Nice. Both these teams are now closing in on leaders Marseille, who will play tonight against Lens. And despite the pressure, the team from southern France think they have the ability to hang on, not just today, but all the way to the end.
Après, je veux pas être trop présomptueux parce que la saison est longue.
I don't want to be presumptuous because the season is long, but in terms of capacity and staff, I think that we can really create a surprise. We are physically prepared, but can we mentally stay the course? We must not be distracted by the media or other factors.
Est-ce qu'on aura la force voilà, morale pour tenir?
We love to say that politics and sports should not be mixed, but the truth is it happens all the time, and here's the latest example. FIFA has expressed regret after the video launching for the logo of the 2018 World Cup showed the disputed Crimean Peninsula as part of Russia. The video, unveiled last week in Moscow, included a map of host nation Russia, which showed Crimea as part of its territory. Russia annexed the Crimean Peninsula in March. Despite fierce opposition from many Western governments, the Ukrainian government still claims Crimea as part of its territory. Injuries are, of course, a major part of professional sports. Head injuries leading to concussions are unfortunately very common. In the World Cup this past summer, we saw the examples of Christoph Kramer and Alvaro Pereira, and officials are trying to find solutions, as Liz Barenboim and Michael Friedman report.
Ruptured ligaments, ankle sprains, and muscle strains are all common for footballers, but traumatic brain injuries have the worst consequences. And these account for 34% of injuries to players. A concussion is equivalent to the shock of a car smashed against a wall at 60 kilometers per hour. And the damage can be considerable with memory loss, balance problems, mood changes, and also neurological problems. Beyond the ball itself, players are colliding against the ground, the post, and other players. A footballer who plays 300 games will average 2,000 headers in their career, and those microshocks can cause many disorders.
You're now more vulnerable to that next injury. You then get that second injury. That becomes even more problematic for the brain to recover from, usually resulting in much more prolonged recovery, in possibly rare cases, producing death and more permanent disability.
Across the Atlantic, we always hear about American football players suffering from concussions. In 2007, a study showed that NFL players are 4 times more affected by Alzheimer's disease than the average because of the constant hits. In the world of football, FIFA has made some regulations. They advocate for players to wear heavier gear and for goalkeepers who are most exposed, including wearing elbow pads and knee pads. During the 2014 World Cup, Uruguayan footballer Alvaro Pereira had a terrible head injury during the match against England. Despite the footballer losing consciousness, he insisted on returning to the pitch against the team doctor's advice. This has caused more debate over the precautionary measures that a player must take in the event of an injury. Another potential solution to the problem could be forcing players to wear helmets, as seen by Chelsea goalkeeper Peter Cech, who has undergone surgery after a blow to the head in 2006. A change that health professionals see would be a great step forward in protecting the players.
It's a blessing that it actually does do what it was supposed to do, which is to keep the skull from fracturing. The problem is it gives you this false sense of security for the soft tissue inside the skull, which is the brain.
The English Football Federation believes it is the best interest of the players to be subbed out after being injured. But in France, there is no protocol to prevent concussions. The Federation and the Professional League are currently working towards fixing this problem. Beyond professionals, the current goal of many sports officials is to educate young people about the dangers related to these accidents. This is an important matter in not just football, but other sports such as rugby and hockey.
If you put your elbow up into some kid's head, you could be ruining his season. If you hit a kid from behind, who knows what you're going to do damage-wise. We're trying to make sure that kids understand that they're accountable for their actions.
There were 58 concussions, and 18 of those were not evaluated on the field during the 2013-2014 season. The top 14 rugby is the only sport that has taken the problem head on. The Rugby Federation has doctors during the game to look after concussion victims immediately. But it appears the efforts are still far from where they need to be in the world of football.
Now let's head to the Big Apple, where the traditional New York Marathon is held today. 50,000 people are participating in the marathon this year, which as always passes through the 5 boroughs of the city, beginning in Staten Island and ending in Manhattan's Central Park, where thousands are expected to cheer the runners in the final mile. The marathon, considered as one of the world marathon majors, was first held in 1970 and was canceled only once. It happened 2 years ago due to the effects of Superstorm Sandy. Now to the NBA, and if 20 years ago it was hard to find a non-American player in the league, not to mention an all-star, now times have changed. The figures of foreign players have constantly grown. The new season, which started last week, sees more than 100 foreign players in the NBA. Some of them are leading figures in their teams, and in the league, Michael Friedman has a story.
Basketball continues to expand around the world, and with the new NBA season underway, the league witnessed a historical record of international players. There were 101 foreign players from 37 countries and territories on the opening day rosters, and the league increased around 10% from last year. This season also marked the first time to have over 100 players from abroad in the league. Spain has been known to groom some of the top players in the world, but this year, Canada led the way with 12 players in the NBA, which included the #1 overall pick in each of the last 2 NBA drafts, Anthony Bennett and Andrew Wiggins. And the NBA is working towards bringing more overseas players to the league.
It's a testament to how global our game is and how it's grown in every corner of the globe. At the grassroots level or the elite level, we're working closely with FIBA, Federation and leagues throughout the world, and what you're seeing now is some of the results from our partnerships.
And we can't forget about Israel's own Omri Caspi, who currently plays for the Sacramento Kings. He too has seen a growth in the league becoming more global.
There's a lot of European and international players now, a lot more than ever, which shows that the basketball overall and in general in Europe and all over the world is growing. And, seeing Tony Parker and Dirk Nowitzki being superstars of teams now, it's something that, 20 years ago wasn't like that. So it's great to see.
And not far behind this year is France with 10 players in the league. French superstar and 4-time NBA champion Tony Parker has represented his country well across the Atlantic. France showed their talents on the world stage this past summer as they came in third in the 2014 FIBA World Cup. The reigning NBA champion San Antonio Spurs lead the league for the 3rd consecutive season with 9 international players. Their roster includes 2 Frenchmen, 2 Australians, a Brazilian, a Canadian, an Italian, and the big man from the small island, Tim Duncan, who is from the U.S. Virgin Islands. And what has made these players so special is their ability to come together and conform to the style of play in the NBA. In addition to the great overseas players in the league, the NBA is truly global as games and programming are available in 215 countries and territories as well as 47 languages this season. With nearly 23% of the league being international players, the greatest basketball league in the world continues to show interest both in the United States and abroad.
One of the most prestigious sailing races in the world, the Route du Rhum, sits off today in France. The transatlantic yacht race, held once every 4 years, will make history as a 19-year-old will be the youngest skipper to ever compete. That is not even the most remarkable thing about Paul Ignat. More details in the following report.
It's been a long year of sponsorships, but Paul Ignat has finally reached his target. With more than 250,000 euros raised, the 19-year-old is now all hands on deck.
I started making money when I was 17. I didn't see why I had to be on the budget of a 17-year-old. So I started out little by little, and it eventually came together.
Money making is not a new feat for this young sailor. At school, he set up a business, leading a team of 6. So it's not just his seamanship that has earned him the respect of his peers.
He is very mature. I really don't notice the age difference. I'm very confident in him. I hope high hopes for him because he's youthful and energetic. I think that he will go a long way and complete the Route du Rhum race beautifully.
Despite the frenzy surrounding his participation in the solo transatlantic race, Paul manages to keep his feet firmly on the ground.
I don't like to be asked about my goals in terms of ranking. I usually say for there to be a ranking, first I need to start the race. Let's just hope I make it to Guadeloupe.
Whatever the outcome of the race, Paul Ignat is set to break the records. On November the 2nd, he will become the youngest ever skipper to take part in Route du Rhum. He'll be racing alongside 89 competitors, including a 75-year-old Brit. The oldest yachtsman to have completed a round-the-world voyage.
Sports fans like to say that they will follow their team to the grave. For some, it is really the case. Brazilian giants Corinthians are building a cemetery and will offer funeral services to fans and players. The cemetery will include a mock football field and VIP tribunes, where some of the team's greatest players will be offered burial spaces. The Corinthians Forever Cemetery is expected to open next year, but fans can already start booking one of the 70,000 available burial places. And we hope just everything is fine and no one will get there soon. That's it for us today. Don't forget you can watch this and every other show on our website at i24news.tv, also on Facebook and on Twitter. We'll see you again tomorrow with Talking Football. Till then, have a great day. Thank you very much.